You're listening to Geeksterilia's podcast. Hey there, Geeksters! How's it going? Welcome to Geeksterilia's podcast, your favorite podcast about series, TV shows, and literature about science, sci-fi, and fantasy. As you notice, I'm not reading this right now, and this is my second ever English podcast. And today I have a very interesting topic for you guys, which is it's pretty much an interview to an author of an upcoming medieval fantasy novel that if you were fans of Game of Thrones and you were fans of looking around for theories and recaps on YouTube, you may know this face. So please welcome Chris from Smokescreen.
Hello there. Thank you.
Hey there.
Thank you for having
Welcome
me.
to my channel. Welcome to the channel and
Yes,
that
thank
clumsy
you.
introduction.
No,
clumsy.
that's fine. Hey, live is live. Yeah, you have to do it, right?
Yeah, my first episode in English, I did read the script that I wrote.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Because I
Yeah.
was a little bit nervous that I was not going to get it right, but because it's not my first language, English.
Right.
But yeah, today I kind of forgot about that, so I just decided to do it and go with the flow, and here I am.
That's the way. That's the way I've always done it. Shoot from the hip. Go for it. No scripts for me.
Okay. Well, the topic of today, today's topic. You wrote a novel.
I did. I somehow stumbled and wrote a novel over the last couple of years.
Yes, that's pretty amazing. I mean, I've been following your channel for God knows how long. Pretty much ever since it started. I noticed how your viewers grew and grew and grew, and then you started doing some collaborations with Val, who has been here in this podcast in Spanish episodes. And well, now I finally get to invite you because I finally get to start doing this show in English. So I'm pretty excited.
Very cool. Thank you for the invite, by the way. Thanks for having me.
Okay, Chris, your novel, The Crimson Gods.
Yes.
What is it about?
Oh, I guess I would put it without getting spoilery. Essentially, the core is you have it's medieval, I guess by definition, high fantasy. Definitely has a dark fantasy twist, for sure. But essentially, it revolves around the last king of Osgoth, this land that I made up and drew a map and all this stuff. So it all started with a map, right? He has abdicated his crown for a ruling council just like a decade or so ago, and he has some children that are kind of now, they were born as the crown prince and the princess and all this kind of stuff, and now they're not really sure where they fit into this world. And so they are kind of going through trying to figure things out themselves when some whispers of their past, and I mean the past of the continent as a whole, Osgoth, start kind of creeping in, and some strange things start to happen as they figure out what the hell's going on. There may be some missing history there they're not aware of.
That's the interesting part. That's the interesting part that I'm actually very intrigued for. I had a sneak peek of the novel. I had a sneak peek of the novel. I read some chapters, and I got to say that, well, first of all, the main characters, which are Ashaya and Sirich, and well, the king himself, and I actually have the names of here.
You're still in the middle of the read there, but
I still don't.
I think the main characters I would consider would be Sirik and Amari and Ashaya or Ash.
Yeah. Well, they I have to say that it's pretty interesting, the dilemma that they're involved in, because and that identity crisis that they're at. I feel that Sirich, it's is it Sirich or is it
Yeah,
Sirich?
yeah, it's actually Cyric. Yeah, it's just
Sirich.
a weird spelling. And honestly, that name came from
Uh-huh.
um it's something I wrote as fan fiction when I was 15 years old. It
Mhm.
was a Star Wars thing that I wrote, and I always just
Mhm.
for some reason love that name and the spelling of it. So it's the K sound with the CH. So
Okay.
yeah, it's actually
Okay. Sirich.
Cyric. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Sirich. Sirich is the one that is struggling the most with this whole
Yes,
adaptation thing.
yes,
Yes.
definitely.
Yeah, and I can see that, and I can see why. Because well, it's pretty obvious. It's pretty straightforward. Because well, he was the prince, the heir of the
Yes,
throne, and now he's just basically no one. And whenever you have that much power taken away from you in such a
right.
dramatic way, well, it's understandable.
Yeah, that's kind of the core of his issue, so to speak. You know, you want to give him a problem or some tension, whatever you want to call it, for storytelling, and that's his. He don't quite understand why his father would just give up a crown. I mean, he was the
Mhm.
damn king, right? He could do anything he wanted.
Mhm.
So you know, but at the same time, it is his father, and he's trying to make him proud and do whatever he needs to do, but he don't really understand it, and I don't think he really wants to.
Yeah, well, I would ask my well, that's a question that is not answered in during those chapters that I read.
Right.
Why would the king decide to do such a thing? And I figure that is because well, he wants something better for the whole kingdom.
Yeah, yeah. The way I thought about it, as far as and obviously that's not the main story. It's kind of
Mhm,
the what it's built around. But the idea for me was, we've seen all these medieval fantasies. You're talking about Ice and Fire, or any pick even medieval fantasy you want, and it's always revolving around the throne, right?
mhm,
And Game of Thrones or Song of Ice and Fire, it's the Iron Throne. And it's about the politics around that and who gets it next. My whole thing was, let's explore what it looks like when somebody's changing from that society. Well, and
mhm,
was from changing from that kind of system to a council, or as far as a monarchy, to whatever this may become. Let's explore what that looks like. You know what I mean? A little bit, as far as in the background.
mhm.
Obviously, it's not going to be the main story as far as the characters go, but that's the kind of the subplot.
Well, I think it's more like a character build up.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Mhm,
this kind of change, and like we were talking about with Cyric and Ashea for that matter,
mhm,
it's going to how they react to all this reveals their character, right?
mhm.
I
Yeah,
think I think that's a good way to put it.
yeah. That's part of their identity, yes, in this world.
Exactly.
um, the thing with Ashaya, I don't, I her conflict is not that obvious with this. I mean, she the way you describe her is well, she's like a tough princess. O sea, she likes girly princess stuff, but she also likes to fight. She also likes.
Yeah, I think she's I think she I guess people would call that a tomboy. Maybe that's
Mhm,
old school language or whatever, but something like that. But she's more of a, you know, yeah, I mean, so what? I don't really want to conform to these social norms or whatever in this world.
mhm,
I don't care about the whole marriage thing and some of that kind of thing. So it's Cyric, where he's more directly about, I was the crown prince, I was going to be the king, and he's going to his father and this other, what I call a preceptor, Galen, this other character that's pretty prominent, trying to understand all this while at the same time pleasing his father. She's just kind of like, whatever, you know. But
yeah.
she gets, without obviously without spoilers. You'll read soon enough.
Mhm.
She starts to get pulled into this stuff too. So
Yeah, yeah. I haven't reached that part, and I can and can wait. But what the thing that I liked about her is that even though she is the tomboy, and she, like you said, she doesn't care about marriage and that kind of stuff. She isn't uh against the whole girly. being princess thing.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't want
You
to. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I don't know if
oh
you.
no, sorry. Like it's not separate. She doesn't separate that those, and I like that because usually when you get a character like this that doesn't fit the norm of a woman's character, so to speak,
Right, right,
uh, they usually portray her as a woman that doesn't care about womanly things. And
right,
the thing
right.
that I liked about Ashaya is that she just doesn't care. She is just herself, and she can be girly if she wants to, and she can be tough if she
Right.
wants to. And that's
And
one refreshing thing to see.
yeah, yeah. No, I appreciate that because that's kind of, when I hear that kind of feedback, that makes me feel a lot better because that's kind of what I was intending. I didn't want it to be,
Mhm,
okay, well, she's not the average, pretty princess or whatever in this kind of medieval world, but
mhm,
she can be both. She don't have to cut her hair off and wear pants if she, all the time or whatever that, may be as far as those cliches.
mhm,
So yeah, she's just more of like, yeah, no, I grew up with brothers. I
mhm,
like to, I like sword play. I like specifically the bow and arrow,
mhm.
things like that. And she got some crap for it when she was younger from her backstory. But at the same time, she can still be the pretty girl at times, and she's not afraid to, I would say, break a few hearts. So
Yeah,
she doesn't.
that poor guy. What?
Poor Mitchell.
Yeah, poor Mitchell. Uh,
Right.
yeah, she just sent him straight out to the friend zone. But
Yeah,
well, it's just
maybe.
to say that the friend zone does not exist.
Right, right.
But yeah, if you could put a name up to it, it would be
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. At least for now. Maybe that changes, maybe it don't. I'm not sure.
Okay, okay, that's
We'll see.
okay.
Because that's
We'll
part
see.
of her struggle too, right? She's
Mhm,
not just like out here, like I said. I mean, she is more of the, the go with the flow, but she's gonna have in some struggles, some internal struggles.
mhm. Everybody does.
Yep,
Everybody does.
exactly.
Yeah, and the one protagonist that we haven't really heard that much is Amari, because at least as far as I read,
Right.
uh, so far he's just Siric's best friend, and
Yeah, he will be the as things start to kind of unravel, I should say,
Mhm.
for Cyric. He will be kind of the show. He's there to be the common sense here. He was actually one of my favorite characters to write because being his best friend, he cares about him, but he still picks on him, and he grew up there as a child, and so they're really close, and so he's that real close friend that can be a little sarcastic, a
Mhm.
little bullheaded at the same time. So he'll be there again without giving too much away. He'll be there to. I mean, he'll play a huge role. Let me just say that he'll play a huge role in Cyric's plan or unraveling or whatever you want to call it.
Okay. Well, we did say that this episode was going to be 99.9%
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
spoiler free.
Yeah, we're not
Because
getting into any of the
Mhm.
the good stuff.
Yeah, yeah. And one thing that I liked about them is that relationship that they have. You can tell that it is an old friendship because of the
Yeah.
way that they speak to each other, with, like you said, with a lot of sarcasm and jokes, and
Yes. Boys will be boys.
boys will be boys will be boys.
Exactly.
Monica says that she can hardly wait to read this book.
Oh, Monica, thank you. Monica, huge supporter there, by the way. Thank you, Monica.
Hi, Monica. Nice to meet you. Welcome here to my podcast. And for those of you who are new, this is my second ever English episode, and I will be doing this every two Spanish episodes. For now, I plan to increase the frequency of my English speaking guests. But for now, let's just stick for every three episodes. And okay, there are things in the story that I haven't reached yet, but
Right.
there are many mysteries involved. One of them, you can see that right in the first thing you read, the prologue.
Yes, there's
You
a
which involves the third brother. Well, Ashaya and Sirik are brother and sister, but
yes,
Ashaya has a brother, a twin brother,
yes.
uh, whose name is
Mm,
Merek.
yep.
And
Merrick. Yep.
he is, well, he was traveling south for some reason, and he met someone, and
Yes.
something happened, something huge happened, and that is a huge, huge mystery that really got me hooked because I didn't see it coming. I didn't
Right.
really see it coming. I didn't expect something that big happen in the very prologue. So tell me a little bit about it. Uh, as
Let's see. What can I say? I don't know how much I can say. The idea with that was exactly like you said, is a hook, and that obviously that will be revealed. You know what happened and why and all that stuff.
Mhm,
But yeah, Merrick is the twin sister of Ashea, so they were twins, and Sirik is the older half brother technically.
mhm,
So, so they all share a father, two separate mothers, which will be important as well.
mhm,
But yeah, he's off on this ranging essentially down south, and this is due to the council we were talking about before, where now they've been meeting for a couple of years now, but they're still trying to figure things out and how to do this thing, essentially. And so they send out these ranging parties around Osgoth, and the idea is to eventually get to for William, the former king, Sirik's father, and Nashea's father, and Merrick as well, obviously, is he's trying to figure this out. He just knows this in the long term it'll prevent some tyrant, because there's been tyrants in the past, in his own family.
mhm,
And so his whole thing is, he's been going through this, kind of learning as he goes, and he's trying to get all these other lords involved, and who really don't take it seriously as long as they just remain in power. They don't, they're not taking it seriously as he is. And anyway, so as Merrick got older, he wanted to go out and see Osgoth, because these are educated kids, right? They grew up in a castle. We have what's called an order of preceptors, where these are essentially scholars that they're based out of a place in the south called Ashburn, in a land called Alaria, and they are essentially teachers in some way to these highborn kids or whatever. So he is educated. He's read about all this stuff, but he's never got to see it. And they're fairly young, and these, I think I may age them up a little bit, but for that middle-aged timeline, they're full-grown men essentially,
mhm,
so he's out in this little ranging with his, I call him an apprentice. I'm not doing knights and squires,
mhm,
um, so he's out with him, and yeah, he's out to explore this mysterious place that has some history about it. Apparently, some weird things have gone on, or I guess it's really one of those places. It's a mystery because people stay away from it because they've heard things about it.
mhm,
Um, and so that's was his thing as well. I want to go check this place out and find out what's going on to report back to the council,
mhm,
because they have these big, when they have a meeting, it lasts for weeks, right? Because they come from all over the land, and it's not just there for like a day or two. They're staying for weeks or whatever at a time. So that was his whole thing. And then that happens. Some
mhm,
things happen
mhm.
when he thinks, I'm just going to go look at this place, right? I'm going to check out this. Okay, cool, fine. I'll take some notes and ride back and tell everybody about it. He runs into a little bit of history.
Yeah.
Something like that. So maybe that's trouble.
Yeah. And speaking of trouble, not everyone is okay with this whole no king thing. And
Right.
we have someone that has self-proclaimed a king. Um, so I believe we're going to see some political drama right there.
Yeah, we'll
um,
definitely see some political drama. There's some pieces there, there's some other, because there's mentions of some past rebellions. Was one called the last rebellion that's specifically brought up, and there's somebody left there that may have an issue, may not. So there's going to be people trying to take advantage of this situation for sure.
Of course, every time something a political regime changes,
Yep.
there's always chaos,
Yep.
and there's always there's always, basically there's always chaos because things have to adjust,
Yes.
and not everyone can uh, keep the same pace, you know. And
Right. And
yeah.
I think the thing for that is, as far as the political stuff and, like you said, regime change type of thing, is, these, we all think that when we're all kids, we think that all these adults just know everything, right? My
Mhm.
daughter used to think I got up and put the sun in the sky in the morning or something. But when they get older, as we all get older, we
Mhm.
realize, you know what, these are all just flawed people too. They have no idea what they're doing. They're learning while they go. You know what I mean? So that's
Uh-huh.
part of it too. They got to figure
Yeah.
this out.
You kind of reminded me of Olaf in the Frozen 2 movie.
Right.
This will all make sense when I am older. Well, guess what? No, it won't.
Exactly.
It
Exactly.
won't. It,
No, it won't.
uh-huh. And speaking of suns, we have a key, a hint that this is not planet Earth where the story is developing, because we have two moons, and at some
Right.
point one character mentioned that there used to be two suns. But
Yeah, there. Oh, I'm
yeah.
sorry. I'm sorry. I keep interrupting you. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, no, it's okay. It's okay. Uh, and so yeah, this is not Earth. Is
Yeah,
this
it's
some kind of tribute to Tatooine or something?
no, no.
No.
Honestly, it's not Earth, but it is a. It's not. This is not like. I mean, like I said, technically by classification, being like a fantastical world, it is high fantasy. But this is, I would say, more of a low fantasy in the sense of like magic and things like
Mhm,
that.
mhm.
So it's very Earth-like. I mean, it's based in the real world, obviously, but
Yeah.
there's actually a specific reason I did the two moons thing. It wasn't. I don't know if that's cliche or not, but there's some prophetic stuff that comes into it later on that you'll see, and that may or may not be part of it. So there is a reason that I chose. Let's make it cool,
Mhm,
not just look cool and sound cool, but there is a
mhm.
reason there are two moons.
Oh, okay.
So yeah,
I guess we'll see that in further chapters.
yes,
um,
yes,
that it's interesting, and I found some character. Uh, I believe it was the 10th episode or something that really intrigued me a little bit. I don't know if we're going to see her for in episodes further, but she gave that piece of information of that about the two suns and the two moon. Well, the two moons are
yeah.
presented earlier, but the two suns we learn about.
Yeah, and we don't know if that's true.
Mhm,
It's more like that's what she heard. They're used to, it's a tale,
mhm,
and I guess our job as readers is that, was that real? I mean, that's not a big thing to the story necessarily, but it shows you. I'm trying to, you're trying to show the cultural aspect of things. Like, that's one big thing actually too, as far as, and I don't know how much you remember about or was mentioned in the first 10 chapters about the religions,
mhm,
the 13 aspects, and all that kind of stuff, and the
mhm.
elders. So I'm going into the religious stuff and culture, trying to build an actual world where all this is at least thought about. You know what I mean? Because that's how people speak, and that's how they think,
Yeah,
and that's how they live their lives around the mythology,
right,
whether it's religion or whatever. So that's definitely part of it. Big
right.
Kev, I see you, Big Kev. Sorry.
Patty here says all classics start with a map. Will we see a map?
You will
That's
see a map. You
amazing.
will. That was
Nice.
the first thing I wrote. Like I said, this was not a big planned out. Like I'm not a plotter, so to speak, as far as a
Mhm,
writer. I'm not even a writer yet, honestly. I mean, I'm using all these terms like I've been doing this for years. I guess technically I have just been in the behind the scenes, but this all came to me in kind of the prologue was the
mhm,
scene that kind of came. What is the? I didn't know what it was, so I wrote that out almost like an info dump and just got it out of my head and kind of kept going. Once I was 3 or 4 chapters in, then I kind of formed a story. But before I even finished the prologue, I was out. I had the big sketch pad out, and I drew the map, right, and I tried to make it. a little different from your standard fantasy map. So it's kind of a circular land with a sea in the middle of it, and as opposed to just like a chunk of land where there's seas all around it. So I tried to make it a little bit different, and I thought it was, there's some cool geography involved and stuff. So I have a whole map drawn out in detail, and then I would just go as I was writing, and I would kind of name new places and come up with these locations and stuff. I would go plot it out on the map or whatever. And then I'm actually doing one online now, a more a digital version that I'm still working on and building. But I will have like a version I can print in the book for sure.
Okay.
You got to have a map, right? I mean,
Yeah.
You got to, it's fantasy.
I know.
You have to have a map so you can look at it and say, oh, okay, they were there. Wolf Pine is up here. Okay. And
so, yeah. You can talk about the Middle Earth without, seeing the map of the Middle Earth, and the same with Narnia, and the same with
yeah. Exactly. Yes, you have to look at it. You have to have a map.
Yeah. So okay, a little question for is this going to be a first novel of many?
I think so. That's the plan. Plan. We'll see. Like I said, in this downtime of waiting on the first round of developmental editing, which that's not going to start till April 5th, I believe. So that'll be 3 or 4 weeks of them doing that, and then I'll do more revisions, and so it's gonna be a while. I've already started. Actually, I started chapter 1 of the next project that will be in Osgoth.
Okay.
There's 2 I have in mind. One will be more of an origins story, and that'll make more sense when you read this book. And then the other one will be, maybe related to a character that's mentioned some in this book. Not a character that's like in the forefront, but he will be more involved later. So that may be, it may be I'm not really 100% sure yet, so I don't want to say absolutely, but it may be like a companion novel during the same time period, or it may be something completely different. But it will be in the same world. There's a lot of time here in this world. I actually have 3 ages. I have the age of dragons, the age of the gods, and the age of man. So there's thousands of years here to play with.
Awesome.
So we'll see what happens.
I have to ask this.
Sure.
If your novel gets a great deal of success and you get some contract for adapting it into a movie or into a series.
Oh yeah, wouldn't that be nice?
It would be awesome. Awesome. I would be very happy for you. But I have to ask, who would you cast as the main 3 characters?
Oh, I don't know. Now I haven't thought that far ahead.
You have to think big.
Yeah, no, you're putting me on the spot. I don't know. That's a good question. I have to think. I don't have anybody right off the top of my head. Maybe we'll bring Amelia Clark back for a shade. Maybe she's a little too old by then. I don't know. I haven't thought about that. I mean, that's all cool, and I do think big, honestly. But I mean, look, it's you got to be realistic. This is a debut novel from an unknown author. Some people may hate it. Some people may enjoy it. Most people don't do well with their books anyway, especially their first one. So we'll see. I mean, I just expect to lose money on it, but nevertheless, it's out in the world once it's done. And that's what I'm looking forward to. Is the whole thing for me was I've spent so much time in other people's worlds, whether it be Westeros or the galaxy far, far away with Star Wars all my life. That's like, why, the next logical step for me was, okay, let's make my own. Let's actually commit to it and make my own little world to play around in. That's essentially.
Yeah, I understand. I understand that feeling. I mean, the reason why I asked you that is because you were just for fun, right? But I understand the fact that some things you do that because you want to do that, and yeah, you have your expectations, but you're basically just doing it for fun and for you.
Yeah, it's almost like I mean, yeah, do I wish it would blow up and be a huge success? Absolutely. Would would Netflix come calling making me happy? That would absolutely. But I don't expect that, I mean, yes, like I said, I want it to do well. I want people to enjoy it. I think storytelling is a hugely powerful thing. I think we evolved from storytelling. That's how our brains work.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, that's the secret to doing good YouTube videos, right? Is storytelling in some fashion. So, and I guess there's maybe a legacy thing involved.
Mhm.
When I'm gone, long gone, there's something out here in the world that I did, and it might be some small thing, but maybe my daughter will be proud of it. There's some of that aspect of it too.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Well, they're giving you some tips here.
Oh, I see, Patty. Yeah, yeah. I have not book talk and bookstagram. Um, I'm all over the place with my social media stuff, so
Mhm.
I need a marketing manager. Because I mean, I got a
Yeah.
TikTok, but I don't use it. I just watch it occasionally. But I'm too old for shit like that, I think.
Same. Yeah, I know.
you
I get
know,
you.
but whatever. I'm not maybe I need to start it. Maybe I need to get on there. Maybe at least market there. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, but one thing that I gotta say is that, like Monica says, it's a brave thing to put out there, because some of us may dream with, I don't know, making a movie, or
Yeah.
write a book or whatever, but actually take the time and take the and put yourself out there.
Yes.
It's a huge other step, and that's something that is, w- it doesn't, regardless of if the story is good or is bad or whatever, the fact that you sat down and did it, and wrote it, it's huge.
Yeah,
It's
I think so too. I
Mhm.
agree. I mean, it's kind of like the YouTube thing. I remember starting that stuff up, and I was like, I'm gonna throw I watch these other people doing things on YouTube. I was like, I can talk about that if they can. So you put
Yeah,
yourself out
yeah.
there, and then you go, well, okay, well, some people don't show their face. I could just be anonymous and it just be a voice, but like, no, let's just go all the way and just might as well. So it was really cool because I'm one of those people who, as I got older, I was really goal oriented, and I finished like any goal that I set, I finish it. And it's easy just to stop and give up, because I mean, I did this probably when I was 18, 19, maybe a little older. I'd started a book before. This was
Mhm.
actually a nonfiction book, and wrote a few chapters and kind of got lost in life or whatever. But I did feel when I sat down, and especially as the pages started to pile up, and I realized, wait a minute, I've got 10 chapters now. Oh, now I'm at 15. This is going to be a thing.
Mhm.
It really gives you more confidence as you go. So that's why I do these writing videos now, and I tell
Mhm.
everybody in all these videos, those Writing Wednesday videos, just start writing, just do it. Even if you never do anything with you can sit down. You don't know where it's going. You may come up with it may be the next big work. You just don't know. So do it, and then yeah, I think it is a huge step. And thank you, Monica, for saying that, because putting yourself out there is, you're going to get criticized. You
Yeah.
know, you're inviting it, and it's fair game. So that's part of it. Especially, it's funny you asked that too, and that Monica brought it up because I was talking to the editor earlier. We were exchanging a few emails back and forth based off some feedback, and she was like, "Make sure that slow down." Because she knows I was pushing for a June release date, and that still may be the case. We'll see, but I
Mhm.
may have to push that back till the summer, whatever. We'll see. But she was like, especially being a YouTuber, these expectations are going to be up here, and
Mhm.
there's been other YouTubers that give writing advice, but people don't really like their books a lot, and there's a whole nother level there. So it is what it is, but
Mhm.
I just you gotta accept the good with the bad.
Yeah, right. Um, like, Jorge says here that you have to complete your universe. That he hopes that you don't have the same problem that George R. Martin. Well,
Yeah.
I believe this is a different case, because, well, George has his universe pretty set up.
Right, right.
The problem is his space.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
But yes, he's got so much going on that
Uh-huh.
I mean, I get it. I mean, just in a little bit I've done in 2.5 years,
Mhm.
I completely understand. But Yeah, he's got such a huge, giant world. And, it didn't start that way, though. It started as, okay, the direwolf scene, right? That was his first scene in his head. He wrote it out, and then that became Winterfell. And then from there, it went, oh, okay, it's the North. And now we got the Westerlands or whatever. And then it became Westeros. And then, oh, we need to add another continent over here. So it grew over time. And that's kind of the way, mine is going so far. So as you know, as you go through the whole process and you're in chapter, I don't know, 25 now, well, you got to start mentioning some other locations. And then, like I said, you're adding to the map at all times. And then, well, not everybody's from here, right? So some people have to be from across some sea, there's always, because there's always
Yeah.
influence from over in the real world. So you're basing it off that reality. And
Yeah. They
so,
have
okay,
to
well,
look
now I have to have
different.
another continent over here. so,
Yeah.
yeah, it's growing, and there'll probably more to it, I'm sure, over time. But right now I'm trying to focus on the main continent there, Osgoth. So, but
Right.
yeah, I hope. I don't know, that could be a good problem, Jorge. That's a
One
good
step.
problem to have so much so much in your head that you can't finish it.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe
One step at a time.
exactly.
Like they say. Okay, I have to say hi to
There
Val.
she is,
There she is.
Valu. Hello,
Hi, Val. Nice to see you here. Okay.
Val.
we
Have you read it yet? By the way, no.
Okay, well, maybe she's a busy person.
She's busy.
She's busy. Yeah, yeah.
No, I've had 4 or 5 people just now read the whole thing, and
Mhm.
I've had some really good feedback. So I get more excited when, like you said, when you ask a couple things that were really particular, like a Shea, for example.
Mhm.
When I hear a question or somebody say, "This is the way I felt about whatever," and it lines up with what my intentions were, then I
Mhm.
know I'm doing something right. It might not be perfect yet, but I know I'm doing something right. So hopefully, people enjoy it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I already well, the character development is getting good. That
No,
that I
thank
can,
you, thank you.
that I can tell you. Maybe some technical stuff about writing needs to be polished and that
Oh
kind of
yeah,
stuff.
yep,
I may not catch them all because English language is not my first language, so some of those errors may slip.
right,
Uh, but there are some things that are a little bit confusing regarding the dialogue and that kind of stuff. But the character development is getting good. That is something that I can honestly tell you that I like, especially
thank you.
with Ashaya, especially with Sirik, because well, these two are the main characters, and that they are the ones that you know more a little bit more about from their backgrounds and why they act
Right,
like they do. And I look forward to know a little bit more about Amari
right,
because he's interesting. The way that he talks to Sarek, that he doesn't really take him that much seriously
right. Exactly,
as everybody else, that they still
exactly.
look him as a prince. He just looks him as
Yeah,
a
he still teasing him about the whole Prince thing.
Mhm,
But everybody else is still, my lord, type of thing. So yeah, it's
mhm,
a different relationship. That's and he'll be like I said, he'll be the balance
mhm.
down the road a little bit. Few chapters ahead.
Yeah. I I feel like he's like it's a little bit like having a famous friend that
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
you've known before they became famous,
yeah. That's true. That is true. That makes
Mhm.
sense.
That you still talk to them as your old friends, not as a famous person that everybody looks up to.
Yeah, because
That's
that's interesting you say that because not everybody in this realm that they come across as they travel around and whatever, they're not even aware what the hell's going on.
Mhm,
Necessarily they just think because they're just the so-called peasants, right? They're not worried about lords and what they're doing in their castles, I guess.
mhm,
So yeah, I mean he was directly involved in the scene and kind of left to become kind of live a normal life. So that was kind of his backstory too. But
Mm-hmm.
So that'll play into their development a little bit as well.
Mm-hmm. 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 And okay, there are many, many things that I would like to ask, but I'm afraid that we will get to spoiler territory, and I don't want to do that
Well, you
because.
can hey, ask what you want, and I can just decline the answer if I need to.
Okay, what about those runes?
Oh, the runes. Yes.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
that will play a role for sure. Really though, essentially, I just wanted to do something. I don't guess it's different. But when I guess most of us in this community think about Ice and Fire and Game of Thrones
Mhm,
type of stuff. But I wanted to do something. I mean, because there were, sigils were a real thing, and all that stuff was all based in reality.
mhm,
But I want to do something a little different. And that was from some other influences I had. And like I said, I don't want to name. We were talking before we started. I can't name certain things specifically because it'll give big things away. Just naming the source of
mhm,
influences. But I wanted. There's definitely something to the runes, and they were taken as sigils essentially. But some of these houses don't know why. They
mhm,
don't really know their own history,
mhm.
and that's kind of what starts to be unraveled.
Okay.
So there's definitely a point to them. And I think they look cool because I actually have them drawn out here. That
Oh.
was the second thing, and they'll be probably somewhere on the book, maybe the back of the book cover, and maybe in the chapter headings as well. So that will be something definitely important.
Okay. Oh, now that you mention house sigils and that kind of stuff, I have a question that a friend of mine asked me to ask you.
Okay.
You know this friend. He asked me to ask you about the Stark banner that he gave you.
Oh, I do know who you're talking about. Yes, it's right over here in this corner. Actually,
Steven.
Stephen
Steven.
Stark. Yes, yes, yes. I
Yeah.
still have that. Well, I moved, and it's now over here in the corner, standing up. It's not screwed together because the room's not high enough here where it was in my other house.
Mhm.
So it's over here in the corner, kind of leaning for now. But Steven, I'm trying to find a place for it properly. So I still think about Steven every time I see it because in my old house I had it in the background of my videos. Some videos you could see it, but I had a tall enough ceiling, and I
Mhm.
do downstairs. But like I'm trying to keep this house, all the nerd stuff in my studio room here, and
I
not
know.
and not have it bleed over into the living room. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
I still have the Stark banner. Absolutely. I felt so bad still, Steven Stark. I do. I feel he gave that to me at the first Con of Thrones. And I
Yeah,
was like, no, don't. I don't. I mean, I think it's cool, but no. He's like, no, take it, take it. I'm like, oh, okay. So he,
yeah. He's awesome. He was my first English speaking guest.
oh, cool, cool,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
spoke about The Expanse, which is a show that everybody should see. But
Hey, I started The Expanse, by the way. I've
uh-huh.
watched one episode, so we'll
Yeah.
see. Well, I'll give it a few more before I make some judgment.
You know, the fourth episode is the one that really gets you hooked.
Okay, all right.
Because
I'm gonna.
the first three are like, okay, I've seen this, but then the fourth episode comes and then you're like, oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, I thought about just doing reactions to it because I'm not going to go into another show and
Yeah,
learn all the history and lore and all that kind of stuff. I just can't. I can't do it. It's driving me insane. For my mental health, I may just do reactions to it, if anything.
yeah,
Otherwise, I'll just watch it on my own and and see if I
yeah.
like it.
I understand. I understand. Yeah. That's the whole reason why I started this podcast instead of doing YouTube reviews,
Yeah.
episode reviews, because
Hmm.
it takes a lot of time with editing and that kind of stuff. So
I think that's what I'm going to do. I think I'm just going to go become a fully live channel almost, except for maybe the writing videos because I can do those fairly quick. I enjoy those and they're forever. You know what I mean? So I may just become a live channel again. I don't know. We'll see.
yeah. Well, you're gonna love The Expanse. It's kind of like Space Game of Thrones with a
Yeah, I've heard a lot.
with a Space Jon Snow of their own.
That's by far of all the recommendations. Hey, cover this show, cover this show. That's by far the number one. Has been The
Yeah,
Expanse.
it's really good. It's really good. And speaking of the writing videos,
Mhm.
are you talking about your own very own? I figured that you actually did your research in order to do them, but
Yeah.
Are you talking about your own experience as a writer right there, about your own mistakes and
Yes, absolutely. Because that's what I guess, I don't know if people would have been surprised to start seeing me doing writing videos in the last couple months, but I mean, this has been going on in the background for 2.5 years. So I mean, I've learned a lot of stuff about writing, the craft, and all that stuff. And I've definitely, it's like I told, we were talking, my editor, we were talking today. It's like I've gotten better through this one book, and so like the second half of the book's probably a lot better as far as the writing,
Mhm.
the so-called rules, than the first half, no doubt about it, just because of the amount of stuff I've learned. So that's based off all like we were talking about before we started, the prologue. It's got a lot of it still needs fixing. There's still a lot
Mhm.
of info dumping in there and stuff that shouldn't just don't. It could be sprinkled throughout the chapters later.
Mhm.
But it was because when I was first sitting down, you're like, I got to get this out of my head on paper. And
Yeah.
so it's kind of all comes out, and you're like, oh, that's a cool sounding name. I got to mention this place, the world build, and then you end up over world building.
Mhm.
And so you end up with these info dumps, and you end up with kind of like, there's no real stakes right there to hook you or whatever. And so somebody might just put it down or skip it, and you can't skip the prologue in this book. You know what I mean? Which is why,
No.
as you know, why it's a prologue,
Mhm.
as opposed to chapter one. So, that's what I'm kind of doing now, is going back through the process of really, I mean, I'm going through the whole thing again, before I go even, it goes to the editors officially. But the first, I would say probably 7, 8, 10, maybe more. I don't even remember now. Chapters, really give them a thorough glance, and probably deleting a lot of stuff, and moving some stuff around, maybe adding some scenes, and and deleting other ones. So getting, to follow these, the advice I'm given, which again goes back to what we were talking about before about, I'm doing writing videos. This could come out and somebody says, well, he don't follow his own writing advice. Well, in some
Mhm.
cases, it's hard to do that in your own, because you're in your own head, which is why it's
Yeah.
so important to have other people that you don't know. And it's not going to be nice to you necessarily read the damn thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like I can sit there all day and tell you, pretty legit writing advice and still not see it in my own writing. It's really a weird thing.
Yeah. I'm a designer. I'm a graphic designer, and
Yeah.
sometimes errors happen, and you're so you're so committed to the whole thing
Yes.
that you sometimes don't see
Yeah. You can't
you
see the
miss
forest of the trees.
yeah, you miss the whole picture because you're
Exactly.
obsessed with the details, and that's very understandable. And the whole thing is a process. Nothing come I mean, the world of Ice and Fire didn't come out like magic,
That's right.
and
That's right.
everybody has to.
It's a long, daunting process. It's,
Mhm.
and that's why I say everybody try it.
Yeah.
Just try it. See what it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
in the background, because it's normally, I guess it's going to be so awesome when I get that book in my hand. I'll do an unboxing video and get the books out with covers done, and it's all real. It makes it more real. But the process is of sitting here 2.5 years by yourself in front of a keyboard, and
Mhm.
nobody sees that. Where you're like going to sleep thinking about, oh, that would be a good thing, or oh, I need to add that, or nah, that sucked, or whatever it may be.
Mhm.
So it's really, it's it could be daunting, but it's worth it when you start getting, like I said, when you start getting past, I don't know if there's a magic number, but when you start seeing, okay, I got a story here. I started off with a paragraph, and now I have like 10, 12 chapters. Then you start picking up steam. You start building confidence, and okay, I can finish this thing. So don't look at it as I need to write 90,000 words or whatever it may
Mhm.
be. Look at it as I need to write a paragraph, and then you have a good day, you write a whole chapter, and then before you know it, you have a book.
Mhm. Did you have a plan, a complete plan from the
No,
beginning, or
no. Like I said, I'm very much, I guess, as they call a pantser as opposed to a plotter. I had a couple of those, like I said, that scene was there, which ended up being the prologue. I didn't know exactly what it meant. And then as I had, some characters, I started writing the first couple chapters, and I was like, okay, now I see kind of where it's going. I kind of just let it reveal itself. And I know that sounds cliche, but it's so true. The way it happened. So anyway, that's kind of what happened. And then I kind of had a really general outline with just some plot points, and I kind of wrote in between them. So I did not heavily outline anything.
Mm-hmm.
I just had like I said, some general plot points that I kind of lined up. Okay, here's the beginning, here's the middle. Okay, this definitely needs to be the ending. I have to go towards this ending, and that's what you write towards. So you kind of reverse engineer it. That's in my opinion, the best way to go about it. As far as unless you're a heavy, like I said, plotter planner where you're drafting everything in detail.
Yeah. I guess, well, many different authors have different styles to approach their own story, and also their characters. How did you come up with those characters?
Um, I came up with like I said, the first guy, Merrick, in the prologue was just it was just a thought. So I didn't know what it meant. I didn't know where it was going, what kind of story it was going to be, other than medieval, right? I mean, that's all I really knew, because I started describing just those style of clothes and riding horses and, whatever. So it kind of became, okay, let's do. Then when I got kind of the basic idea of, okay, this is going to be a blank book, I'm saying blank, obviously, for spoiler reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Let's intertwine that with medieval fantasy. Then it kind of gave me, okay, I need to make her this, and I need to make him a parallel of her, and those type of things start to come together. And then, things happen where, like Amari, for example, I didn't know exactly where he fit. I just knew of the character, but then I needed him to fit someplace. So I had this thing happen where Siric's got to leave Wolf Pine and leave his normal life, and almost the hero's journey beginning thing, right? I guess that's the thing there. But I needed somebody for him to talk to, like on the way, and they had a road trip, so to speak. And so then we got two perspectives there to deal with, and you have people around them, so that was, and so you kind of figure out, okay, I need him to leave this place for whatever reason. Okay, well, on the way, I need to get his thoughts. So I need somebody for him to talk to. So there's Amari, and now we come up with Amari, you know what I mean? So it's almost out of necessity for depending on, where you're going. But the main thing with I guess Siric and Ashea was the being their siblings, and so there's going to be some parallels there, and it's like the situations that start arising is how they respond to it, and it may be different for each. So,
well, they are described as being alike in personality.
Yeah. I mean, they're you got to think, how would that be in that world where there's no internet, and so they're going to be active and pretty close, the siblings, and maybe that makes things a little more bittersweet later. Who knows? We'll see.
Okay, well, regarding Ashaya, well, she's a woman in a medieval world. How is this medieval world different from our medieval world for women?
I don't know that it is. Because like I said, when you're right, that's one thing too, is when you're writing and you come across, especially, something that's not modern or contemporary, you're doing a lot of research as you go. So I might be writing a paragraph, but I'm in here for 3 hours writing one paragraph, but I'm Googling, making sure that I've got the right terminology or whatever, or I'm making up my own depending on what the situation is. But I think that's part of it. I think I'm just exploring in a different way. I mean, not that it's completely different necessarily, but to make because it's still like we were talking about before with her. Alice Swan wanted her not just to be, because I think a lot of people either have the girly girl, like you said before, or the tomboy as far as the medieval girl, right? But why not both?
Yeah,
is was my thinking with her. So she's going to have people in her, especially in her backstory, that questions her about it and whatever. She's got this certain place she's supposed to fulfill, right? But her her brothers and even her father, the former king, don't necessarily see it that way. So they support her in those things. So, um, in that regard, I don't know that she is any different as far as the quote unquote rules of that society,
Mm-hmm.
but it's just how she responds to it.
Okay, that's pretty interesting actually. And well, as I mentioned before, I like that aspect about her. And one of the other things why I like that aspect about her is that, well, many role models for women often put these two identities against each other. And
Right,
yeah,
exactly.
and Ashaya kind of reconciles them both. And like you said, why not both?
Right.
Why can't this both these women can coexist in one woman, when in one woman?
Yeah,
And
and for me, just to throw this out here, I didn't, because I know there's a lot of that's actually another thing in the writing community is like, can men write good female characters and can women write good male characters? I just try to think of, I mean, obviously there's those things you just know about in society, right? So in medieval society, women had it worse, obviously, because
mhm,
and typically,
still do.
yeah,
Mhm,
exactly, yes,
mhm,
but in other aspects, there's societal aspects that go unsaid that men have issues with, especially
mhm,
in modern society. But anyway, so I don't try to think of it as that. Where I think if you just do your research and think of
mhm.
it from a human perspective, they were
Yeah.
all layered and difficult and complex and gray, and that's just the idea. So I just kind of went with that,
Hmm.
as,
Yeah, she's
when writing and trying to think, getting into character traits and stuff.
and neither of them are perfect. I mean, for in one side you have a Sarek that is a complete player and kind of lost in the world and trying to figure out what to do with his life. And you can see that the character has flaws, and he's not going to be your perfect polished hero.
Mm-mm. No,
Mhm.
no, he won't. Maybe we'll see.
Yeah, but those are the relatable characters. I
But
mean,
that's the other thing too. Just I won't without it won't give away too much as far as a spoiler or anything. But I don't want it to be honestly completely clear
mhm,
who's the bigger deal here in the
mhm.
beginning. Is Ashaya more important than Sarek, or vice versa, or are they equally important? I'll let you decide.
Okay. Everybody can decide who their main character is.
Well, I mean, I think
Uh,
you'll see that'll make sense later, obviously.
mhm. Yeah, yeah. Okay, about the other characters, we haven't talked about that much, and we have obviously the king, King William, ex former King William,
Yes.
now the head of the council, and we have Galen. Is it Galen or is it Galen or is it
Yeah, yeah, Galen. Yep.
Galen? Galen, the the master preceptor, which is kind of like if in Game of Thrones it would be translated to a maester or something. Um,
Yes, kind of, sort of. Yeah, that was one thing that was like, is that too similar? But then I started looking into medieval healers and scholars and that type of thing, and it was fairly common
mhm,
to have these type of roles. So I just made it an order.
mhm.
And I guess you could say it's similar to maesters in that fashion for sure, but it's not like that was not a new idea in and of itself. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's common in medieval fantasy
Yeah.
to see those sort of characters. You see them in The Witcher with the
Yes.
wizards. Yeah,
Yep. Absolutely.
um, yeah, and we have Theodore. Theodore is an interesting character.
Yeah, he's fun, man. He's fun to write. I like Theo. If I do say so myself, I do. He was the funnest to write because I wanted to. I don't know how. I don't even remember the chapters now. I'm on, like, because I just got done with chapter 48. So you're on 10. So I don't remember which chapter is which without going back through my thing. But yeah, I wanted a little bit of a, I don't know, adventure,
Mhm.
and he takes part in this little kind of adventure, and it was kind of a funner aspect to write, that I enjoyed.
Yeah, and in his story, we meet another girl,
Yeah.
and she was pretty fun as well.
Yeah, Ridley.
Yeah, Ridley. She's like
Yes, you know.
type, the sassy character.
Yeah, she's the sassy young lady that is, you know, maybe interest of Theo there or vice versa.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, so you know, you have to fill up the background with still. I don't think everybody's just like a character that you pass by, and I mean, some obviously are that you're going to see a guy on the road and never see him again, but
Hmm.
the supporting characters, you know, they still have to be complex too. I think so.
Yeah. Yeah. And one interesting character that I would like to see more about is Neff.
Yes.
I mean, what about him? Is he's a candle maker that that suddenly got promoted, heavily promoted, unexpectedly, and
Without saying too much, because
mhm,
you are just very early on,
mhm,
just really compare the Neff chapters
mhm,
with the as you get later. Like I said, you're going. This will be a little bit later when you get down to that part. Those chapters. Compare the Neff chapters and the descriptions of where he's at
mhm,
to the later Ashea chapters and some other ones as well, but mainly Ashea down the road a little bit.
mhm,
Really compare those as far as descriptions and that with because I don't want to give away too much there, but that's it's definitely important.
mhm.
But because the way you're stating it, I can't really answer directly without.
I know. Sorry, but yeah, the thing that I like about this character, apart from the thing that he, well, he's not noble born.
No.
He's not noble born, but suddenly got in a position that, well,
Well, I mean, what
theory,
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
favors him, because, well, he's now in a position of power. But the interesting part here is that he seems to be a man that is looking to provide a better way to their family. Uh, but he got involved in a situation with some person that
Yes.
may turn into the villain of the story. So,
Maybe, might be. We'll see. Definitely one of the maybe antagonists there in the making. But yeah, I don't like I said, I can't say too much, but because I won't, and like I said, I want these natural reactions when you read it and say, "Oh shit," you know, or I don't get it, whichever it may be. But yeah, he's not. He's just a. This was he's lowborn. He
mhm,
doesn't even have he don't have a surname, you know,
mhm,
and everybody didn't back in the day, even if you were a highborn in
mhm,
some cultures, I'll say. So it's not that he's promoted per se, but in that chapter you're referring to, because have you read more than one Neff chapter? Just the first? I'm
just
not
the first.
okay. That's what I thought.
As far as I've seen, well, as far as I've seen, I've read at least one episode of every character.
Okay,
Uh, a couple of Ashaya, a couple of Sirik,
right,
but
right,
yeah.
yeah.
Uh,
So yeah, that'll be a little more revealing the
mhm,
next few you get to. Yeah.
yeah, I look forward to it. And I really, really hope that your process goes smoothly, both for you and your editors.
Oh yes, thank you. Yeah, this is gonna be the fun part here, right? Because
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's always something to improve.
always. I mean, I got really good feedback from two different editors now, and I've actually got one book, like I mentioned, but
Mhm,
I got some, you know, eye-opening stuff that, and some of those were things I expected. But like I said, these sample chapters were, you know, the prologue in chapter 1 and 2 or whatever. I mean, those were 2 years old, and you know, I made some revisions to them, but they have a long way to go. Like there's some things, definitely the prologue needs to be tightened up, probably changed around a little bit. Too much info dumping and stuff like that. But it's going to be a process for sure. So now that it's written,
Hmm.
the changes are all coming. So this is round 3 now. We'll probably have 10 rounds of this before it gets actually proofread and ready to print.
Yeah. And well, these processes obviously cost money.
Yes.
And you have sort of like a Kickstarter. Uh, would you like to talk about it? So,
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I decided, to go the indie route as opposed to after a lot of research and talking to. I don't know if you remember, Val and I and some other YouTubers, we did the nonfiction book, one chapter each about Game of Thrones and how it changed pop culture. And I was talking to those guys about this as well, but they mainly do nonfiction stuff as opposed to fantasy fiction.
mhm.
And so that was an option as well, but I don't, they didn't really seem, I mean, they were interested kind of, sort of, but they didn't really, it was like, well, we can do this, but we have to create this other press over here because we don't do fiction and blah, blah, blah. But then after researching, I was like, yeah, I think I'll just self-publish because number one, I will retain control of everything. If you're trying to do a series and the first one's no good or flops or whatever, they don't have to buy the second one or third one. So then you're kind of back on your own anyway. So with all that said, and it's really about the control and how the process is so long, 1 to 2 years before they even publish the damn book. And then all that said, with they can own the rights for up to a year or more, or even longer. They can change your title. They have complete control of your cover,
Mhm.
all that stuff. And then, like you mentioned, if it does come up with TV stuff, because that is mentioned, they can have the rights for that too in some cases. So I was like, yeah, I'll just self-publish at least the first one, and
Okay.
and then learn from it, because that don't mean everyone will always be self-published. Maybe the next couple I can go traditional. So we'll see. But that was the main reason I decided to do that is to self thing. But like you said, when you're self-publishing, you're paying for the editing, you're paying for the book cover design, you're paying for, if you do the Audible audio book, you're paying for the voice actor. I mean, that's all expensive, and
Mhm.
editing is expensive, but it's like the number one priority. Don't write a book without getting it edited,
Yeah.
professionally edited,
Yeah.
period.
Yeah, yeah. There will always be some errors that you don't see, like we mentioned before,
Yes.
and things to improve, things to improve. And if you wish to support, if you guys wish to support Chris's novel, you can find the link in the description, and I'm just going to post it here on the chat on both Facebook and YouTube. So if you're interested, I can see that we already have a couple of your biggest fans and supporters here.
Oh well,
uh,
I can't see. Okay, now I can see the chat. I see a minute. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, I did. So yeah, that's what I was going to say. I decided to just go ahead and start an Indiegogo campaign because, if you have to pay like for 50% up
mhm,
front for this stuff, and it's going to be months and months and months before this is a real thing, but have to go ahead and book that. Otherwise, I booked out for April the 5th, I believe, to even start it.
mhm,
So that's why I decided to go that route. So these are basically pre-orders. It's the first round of pre-order, and there will be like a pre-order period on Amazon and Barnes and Nobles and all that stuff as well. But this is a pre-order in the sense where I can fulfill these, or I'm actually talking to a local fulfillment company. They can actually do it for me as well if need be. If it gets big enough to where I can't go out and buy 50, or 150 boxes and envelopes, and so I have all that taken into account. So essentially it's a pre-order
nice, nice.
to help make this thing reality.
Right. Well, these projects need support. So if you wish to do that, you're welcome to visit that link. And I caught the attention of this particular comment right here. It says that it says, I was very honored to find out that the most annoying character who gets killed most graphically was based on me.
Big Kev, oh Lord. Yeah, no, he's I think he's trolling. I think he's trolling me a little bit there.
Yeah, yeah, that's something that shouldn't talk about that much because we're going to get into spoiler territory. But
Yeah, but there's a few deaths. I'm not sure what maybe he's referring to a different one. I'm not sure which one he's referring to. It's based on, yeah, there may be some Big Kev influence in there. Who knows? Sure there is.
Oh, it says fake news.
I knew it.
It's a cool way to make yourself look more interesting. Yeah, but that's an interesting thing with people surrounding writers is that they always trying to get into the story in one way or another because it's like the I know the impulse that impulse that drives you to ask someone to make someone to look like you.
Right. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, hey, let me be the guy in the background. No, I've had a little bit of that actually. But
Mhm,
that's what's funny too is that's the fun part for me is there's little shout outs and stuff to real people.
mhm,
Um and there's references to things that I enjoy in my personal life, the things, little hidden stuff in there like that too. I enjoy that kind of stuff and I love foreshadowing. So I love that's what I was saying about the kind of the deconstruction of reverse engineering is knowing your ending is
mhm,
if you know your ending you're good because
mhm,
you can now lay that groundwork and put little hints and stuff just in random sentences and so that's all there already. Then there'll be more I'm sure as I go through many more times, but that's the fun part to me was read this little chapter here, like my buddy James who co-hosts the podcast with me. He has been my critique partner essentially where he's been reading it as I wrote it and we have these conversations about it. I'm like, yeah, that, and he would make suggestions or ask questions, and okay, I need to make that clearer, type of thing. So that's been a big help as well. But so there's a nod to James in there. There's a character, that's plays a role, and there's a nod to him in there. So things like that are fun. They're fun to do.
yeah, yeah. And I've been having some ideas for stories, but I'm not really that brave, and I don't really have the time to do it. But yeah, there's always going to be someone that influences some of the people that you write about.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah. And a lot of people say don't put yourself in the story and don't self-insert, which is a big kind of no in writing apparently.
mhm.
But to some degree you're doing that to some degree. I mean,
Yeah.
you know what you know and you're writing these characters and some of it's going to be based off you and your personality and people and your family and friends and people who have influenced you in some way.
Mhm.
So, there's always going to be some of that regardless of what the rules say.
Mhm. Mhm. I mean, when you're a writer, inevitably every character will have some trait of you.
Mhm. Sure.
Mhm.
Absolutely. You can't avoid it.
Which would be the character that you identify the most, or which will be
Oh,
your favorite?
um, I don't know. Do I have a favorite yet? I don't know. Probably, I don't know. I don't, I will tell you the favorites to write.
Mhm.
So have been Amari and Theodore.
Mhm.
Just because Theodore is a little more whimsical and adventurous, and it's an important role in the story, but it was a little more fun. They were a little younger, and I'm thinking back to those days, so that was more fun to write. But I don't
Mhm.
know if I have a favorite yet. Well, I have to think on it because it's like I know it probably sounds cliche, but they're all like in my head and based off all these real things and real experiences. So I don't. It's like kind of picking your favorite child, I suppose. I don't know.
Yeah, I know.
I hadn't really thought about the favorite.
Mhm.
I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I don't have one yet.
Okay.
But as far as writing though, yes, Amari's been my favorite to write, and Theodore,
They're the
and
most fun.
Ashaya too. I mean Ashaya too. I'm sorry. I know. See, I can't make up my mind.
Okay. Well, I don't know if you have something a little something more to add for our viewers to uh, enjoy?
I don't think so. I think I just want to say I appreciate you having me on. I appreciate everybody's support so far. There's been a I think with that campaign I think we're like at 40% or whatever. And that won't cover everything. That's just part of it. And I'm trying to keep putting that out there and market a little bit and do these writing videos. So I appreciate everybody that's read
Mhm,
stuff so far, because that's hugely important for me to get honest feedback without any don't be nice. I need to hear it straight up. This sucked or this was great or whatever.
mhm,
So all that's really important. So I really appreciate everybody that's reading it now, that has read it, all the donations. We've had, I think we had like 42, I want to say, backers on Indiegogo. So that's, the first pre-orders and all that. So thank you to everybody. And it all goes back to really this whole YouTube experience the last 6 years. So everybody that's ever watched videos back in the day and, for some reason enjoyed hanging out and listening to me ramble about Westeros or whatever, that's kind of what led to all this. So I just appreciate it. It's really
okay.
cool. I'm really excited about it. I really am excited to get it out and as a real thing. It's becoming a little more real every day as we get closer to actually printing the damn thing. so, so
I figure once I did a cover for a children's book, and when I got the book, I felt really, really excited because my name was
right,
on the
yeah, yeah,
credit.
exactly.
And
Yes,
yeah, so I can imagine what you're going to feel like when you get the printed edition of
yes, because
your
I
own.
mean, yeah, I have the thing printed. I don't know if you can't see behind me, but there's the whole thing I've printed out, and it's 86,000 words laying behind me, and that's cool right there,
Mhm,
just seeing it. But when I get the actual thing, it'll be really cool. I will mention that too. I've written a children's book that it's done,
mhm,
and I've decided to play with that a little bit too, because I enjoyed it, and I'm going to get my cousin Eric, who he's an artist as well, seems to run in our family. He's going to
mhm.
be doing the illustrations for that. So that's something I could probably get done here fairly soon. So there is going to be a children's book out too, and I just enjoy it, and maybe there'll be a lot more of those, because those I can do fairly quickly. And then it's just really it's the artwork there that takes the time, because they're fairly short as far as the actual text.
Yes, yes, yes. Um,
So that's definitely going to be a thing too. I know I've mentioned it a couple times in newsletters, but not so much obviously on YouTube about writing, because but yeah, I mean, that's the other thing. If you want updates and all this stuff, just go to my website, chrismchristian.com. There's a newsletter there you can sign up for, and about every week I'm doing a new blog post and an email and updates on all this stuff as far as the books and what's coming.
all right. Well, Chris, thank you for joining me today. It was a real pleasure. Thank you for letting me read some. Well, you
Yeah, no, thank you for having me, number one. And yes, I look forward to you reading the rest and sending me your oh shit moments. If there are any, or maybe you'll hate it. I don't know. We'll see.
and be sure I will tell you what is confusing to me, what I think that it could work a little better in terms of pacing or whatever.
Yes.
I will tell you. So far what I've read I liked. uh of course there are a few details out there, but the story itself uh looks good. So
Thank you. Thank you.
I look forward to read more about it. And well, thank you so much once again for being here and talk about your baby, your project.
Yes, now I have a book baby.
You have a book
Exactly.
baby.
I
Uh,
do.
and well, for those of you who are new to this channel, thank you first of all for joining us today. Uh, thank thanks to all the devoted fans from Chris that decided to take a look at this channel right now. And well, this would be it. I appreciate your likes, your subscription, and this episode will be available later on Spotify or your favorite podcast provider. So if you would like to hear it there, and follow. I appreciate that as well. And well, this will be it. And may the force be with you guys.
Thank you.